Are we officially live? Yes. Do you support your supporters? Really? Is that how you come in? Do you support your supporters? All right. Let me go back to the first page because I have notes. Let me check to see if I'm live.
All right. Yep, we're good. Dang, it's
We're
popped up
good.
twice on your page. The newborn, it done popped up twice on your page.
Yeah, Sid sent it to
There
me
you
twice to make
go.
sure she ain't hear my
Let me go
mouth.
ahead and pin it.
I
I
forgot
guess I did. All right. I'm
how do I
officially
share it
live. We got a couple people in the room right now. The music that you're hearing in the background right now is from yours truly, John Skywalker, which is available on all streaming platforms. This is things that people don't want to talk about, brought to you by me, God Level. I am a nurse. I'm a podcaster. I'm an entrepreneur. Currently down here in St. Louis, Missouri. I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
John Nicholson here, aka John Skywalker, the Sly Talker, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and father. So, that song that we just came in on is called Supporters. It's off of my second album, Higher Dimensions. I have 3 hip hop albums that are streaming on all major platforms: Dimensions, Higher Dimensions, and Lightbenders. That's what this is back here. Yeah, if y'all like positive, conscious hip hop, that real lyricism, true lyricism, you should come peep me out. John Skywalker. Salute.
Salute. King Newborn, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Peace, peace, peace. This King Newborn. You can find me on all social media platforms. Excuse me, on all social media platforms in new ways. I am.
Tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Sabah Diamin. He joined us last week for our last podcast. This is actually the podcast he wanted to be on. We are discussing diabetes. This man wears several different hats. He is from Fort Worth, Texas, in Long Beach right now. He is studying ancient African spiritual science. Website is soulvisionhealing.com. He wears several different hats. He is a professional fitness and trainer. Oh my God, here we go with that word again. Spiritual advisor and life coach and a nutritionist.
Orthomolecular nutritionist.
There you go. So I'm saying, with that being said, let us welcome Diamin to the panel for tonight, y'all. Thank you.
Ooh.
Salute. All right, like I said in the beginning, we are talking about diabetes. I wanted to talk about this because this is, as a nurse, this is something that I am seeing amongst the older generation, our older generation, that they are suffering from type 2 diabetes, the healing, their slow healing of wounds, the amputation, just the overall decline that diabetes can cause. We need to bring light to that. When doing my research and as a nurse, it is 3 types of diabetes. You have pre-diabetes, type 1 and type 2. And what I'm seeing as a nurse is type 2, but we're going to start from the beginning. Diabetes is also called diabetes mellitus. It is a group of disease that results in too much sugar in the bloodstream. Pre-diabetes is blood sugar that is high, but not high enough to be type 2. They will consider you, a doctor will consider you borderline. Symptoms include increased thirst, hunger, frequent urination, fatigue, blurred vision, frequent infections, and slow healing sores. That was me. Cause is unknown, yet family history and genetics play a major role. Risk factors include weight, waist size, diet. They noted red meat and processed meat, and also sweetened beverages. Inactivity, age, family history, race, gestational diabetes. If you're not familiar with that is when a woman Oh, thank you. Becomes diabetic while pregnant. Sleep, tobacco smoke, and polycystic ovarian syndrome. The complications that diabetes can cause, as the list is hypertension,
Mm,
high cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, kidney, nerve damage, fatty liver disease, eye damage, including loss of vision and amputation. I've seen my grandmother go through all of that. Prevention, simple: eating healthy foods, getting active, losing weight, controlling your blood pressure, cholesterol, and cut back and stop smoking. Now that is type one. That's I'm sorry, that's pre-diabetes. Does anybody want to have anything to add to that? Does anybody have anything to add to that before we move on?
mm,
Well, one thing we're going to talk about tonight is like some other environmental factors, as well as and how they have seen. Because I know a lot of people would think also that this is hereditary as
Mm,
well, and it's actually not. Even all the studies show that they can support less than 20% of diabetic cases being heretic, uh, amplified by the inheriting certain genetic genomes. But we'll
mhm.
talk about how what epigenetics have to do with diabetes as well. But that's going to be later. So
Okay. Right now, we're just going through the different ones. Type 1 is also called juvenile diabetes. It's a chronic condition in which the pancreas produces little or no insulin. These are in adolescents. Symptoms include increased thirst, bedwetting in children who previously didn't wet the bed, irritability, I hope I said that right, and other mood changes, fatigue, weakness, blurred vision, and thrush, which is that
mm,
white patch on the tongue. Causes, they're saying genetics.
mm, well, not exactly wrong.
Type 2, this is what I'm seeing: a chronic condition that affects the way the body processes blood sugar. Symptoms include increased thirst, frequent urination, increased hunger, unattended weight loss, fatigue, blurred vision, slow healing sores, frequent infection, numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, areas of darkened skin, usually in the armpits and the neck. The causes is the pancreas inability to produce insulin.
mhm.
And then the complications was the list of complications I gave earlier. Like it really destroys you from the inside out. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that? No, no,
You got it.
I got it. No,
Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
keep rolling. Okay, let's talk prevention. No, 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 no. Let's go back to what you were just saying. How they're saying it's hereditary, but it's really not. Can you yeah expound on that?
Absolutely.
Thank
Well,
you.
one thing, being in this field, I was also a paramedic in the city of Houston for a number of years. Went through paramedic school through the Houston Fire Department. And when I got to the fire department, we needed ALS units so badly to where I never did do the firefighting thing. I was always on the ambulance, right? And one thing that baffled me, and this was around 2003,
Mm-hmm.
um, baffled me is that knowing that what they would call type 2 diabetes was adult onset diabetes. They used to call it adult onset, right? So
Okay.
which means that they only found this to be true in adults.
Hmm.
But I was actually getting calls to children that presented type 2 diabetic episodes. And it blew my mind because even in paramedic school, it was known as adult onset. And so then I really delved into it and began to wonder, why is it that children are having type 2 instead of type 1? Because type 1 you're born with.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
And so it just so happens that what they found was, yes, the genetic expression from one generation to another makes it easier to attract type 2 diabetes as a child. We also found the same thing with heart disease. Even now, we see how we got people in their 20s having heart attacks.
Oh yeah.
Used to be unheard of. So
Mhm.
as we can, so now we have to. Now this opens up to a whole, because I don't speak about anything without going spiritual on you, right? But
Mhm.
but this does open up to uh, uh, an issue about consciousness and what consciousness has to do with the effect on our genetic expressions. What that has to do. So then, in order to really talk about that, I went to studying epigenetics, and then within epigenetics, one of the epigenetic mechanisms was uh, what they call DNA methylation, which is a natural process. It's a process that it goes through, but the methylation process, it regulates gene expression, right? Just normally, right? It just
Okay.
regulates. It makes some genes turn some genes on and turn some of them off, depending on what the situation stands for, right? Whatever it calls for. Now,
Okay.
there's also something called the epigenetic factor, okay, which is that's the factor that comes from the environment or from internally, okay, from internally of the person. So either way it goes, even the internal, if you're not born with it, if it's not an already set genetic expression, then that means it comes from a response of external stimuli that
Mhm.
actually turns into an internal expression. So and so all of this now, can I show you? I don't even know. Are we ready?
Yes.
Do something
Go
real quick.
ahead.
All right. So let's see here. Just so you can get what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can pull it up. Mhm. And then we can unpack it. Uh, I think we'll be all right. So you guys can see this. Wait,
Mm,
Nothing.
hold on.
wait. Let's see.
Okay, I see. Okay, wait a minute. And there it is.
There we
There we go.
go.
There we go. All right. So you guys see that, right? So this is
Yeah.
what. So let's see. You can see my cursor. There we go. So as you can see here, so these are the epigenetic mechanisms that we're talking about. Okay, so it developed in utero in childhood. Environmental chemicals affects this. Drug and pharmaceuticals affects it. Aging, dieting, and so forth. Now we all know that the genes or the DNA is actually coded up in what we call chromosomes, right? And if we unravel those chromosomes, they begin to look like this, more like the DNA that schematized in all of our lessons, right? So then we
Mm-hmm.
have this thing what's called introduced to certain genetic points called the methyl groups. Now the methyl groups are made of different amino acids. It all depends on what it needs to be. Okay, so and that right there is what's going to regulate gene expression. That's a normal thing. Now, unraveling these genes even further, so we see the genes being this purple coil, but inside we have what's called a histone, which is what the coils wrap around. Now, the tighter these coils are, the less they're able to be accessed for expression. Now, in each one of these, we have what's called a histone tail, right? The histone tail. That itself is where the epigenetic factors are going to attach, and it's going to cause or render that section of DNA inaccessible. Okay, it's going to cause it, or it's going to express according to this epigenetic factor instead of the methyl group. All right. So then, what the health endpoints is going to be cancer, autoimmune disease, mental disorders, and diabetes. All right. So it starts here. It starts with the at the genetic level. It expresses and then it goes back to the genetic level. So it's a cycle, right? So these things is what we have to understand, is that all of this comes from a and this is all conscious, is driven by consciousness. Is literally driven by the way we respond to our environment. All right. So now, let me. What is this? All right. Let me stop sharing for a second here. So now, so that's just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, what the DNA looks like and everything. But now we got to talk about what causes these epigenetic factors, right? So let's talk about what causes those. What are those factors? How do they come into play? How do they disrupt normal expression of the DNA? Then how does that turn into disease? All right. So if we do that, are you trying to say something, beloved? Or
No, I'm thinking of external factors, how we grew up, yeah, the trauma. Yeah, that's where my thoughts are at. I'm like, wow. Go ahead.
Mhm. So the thing is that so if we look at this on the level that we can more tangibly see, okay, because remember, by the time we can see it, it's an effect. So all of that, the effects happen in that micro world, inside the DNA, inside of the corals and thing in the genes. But it expresses all the way up to this macro, not macro, but meso level, which is the level that we can see it. So we see this also. You can test, when you test the blood, you'll see certain hormones present. And certain hormones are going to determine what state or what mindset that you're in, what emotional state you're in, right? Or whatever the body needs. So now let's talk about, emotions are extremely powerful. Emotions, they can manifest and they can change the form of things. Your emotions can change the form of the air around you. Okay, it can change the molecular structure around you, and we see this in Dr. Muto's experiment with water. How he puts certain words onto certain containers that contain certain water, and he'll crystallize the water, and depending on what the word is, will determine how that crystal turns out. Okay, so now remember that this is how powerful your consciousness is, because that's nothing more than information from consciousness. Now, when you respond to an event, okay, and we're talking about just something that's just happening. When we respond to things, let's keep it very simple. Let's just say somebody offended you just by something that they said, and the response is going to be anger. All right, so you get angry, you get a little pissed off about what they said, and then what happens is that triggers a hormonal reaction that has a end product of cortisol production. All right. So there's a lot of things that happen, and then the end product is cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone that puts you into fight or flight. Right. So you into fight or flight because somebody said something you didn't like. And it's the same way that an antelope would get if a lion was chasing it. So you were thinking like either you got to defend yourself or you got to flee the scene, right? It's the very same hormone. Now that's fine in short term, okay? And if it was a real threat, but here we are treating somebody like they're a real threat just because they said something we didn't like. Then what happens is um, is human error not to let go. When somebody says something, it's not like 3 minutes later we're fine. We can carry this for weeks, and every time you do, now you are bombarding your DNA and your organs and everything with this elixir that is debilitating to the function of your organs. Okay, so when that happens, remember also cortisol is responsible for the increased levels of visceral fat, the fat that goes directly around the organs. So this is why you see that common among diabetics. Okay, so now they have that. You mentioned the waistline before, right? So the waistline increases, and it's because of this visceral fat. The visceral fat, and we're talking about, that's the fat that's on the other side of the abdominal wall. That's right there, right around the organs. Okay, and we ain't talking about the subcutaneous fat, which is just between the skin and the abdominal wall. But we're talking about the visceral fat. So now that also smothers the organs and also stops it from functioning correctly. And on top of that, now we have, remember, cortisol too is responsible for the release of all of the stored sugar in your body. So all of the sugar that's stored in the liver and the muscles is stored as glycogen. Now it releases all at one time. So now you have a blood sugar spike and an insulin spike. That insulin spike, of course, is coming from the pancreas. It's a gland. It has a limited supply of insulin, which is used as a key to put the sugar inside, or the glucose inside the cells, to be utilized as energy in a mitochondria, right? So now what happens is the cell eventually becomes desensitized to that insulin. So even though insulin is there knocking at the door, the cell will not open up to allow more sugar in. All right. So now it lost its sensitivity in response to insulin. All right. So now where's the sugar? Because the only reason why insulin is knocking is because it's got a sugar molecule that it wants to get inside. Now the sugar is inside the blood cell, inside the bloodstream. Bad place. Very bad place for it to be. Sugar, remember, can change the structure of anything. You notice how those cherries that they put in drinks, what are they called? The Montesino cherries or something like that? You notice how those real red cherries that they put. I mean, y'all go to the bar. I mean, I don't. If y'all go and get drinks, okay, then I don't either. But you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Those cherries, those real red cherries, and you can almost see through them. But you know that the material of the cherry, because they don't look like the ones that come off the tree.
No.
Okay, but they are the ones that come off the tree after they've been soaked in sugar. Okay, so then it shows you how it can degrade tissue. So when the sugar is inside of the blood, say inside of the bloodstream, it actually degrades the arterial and venous walls. So it starts to break down those things, wear them down, make them brittle. And it does the same thing for all of the organs. So this is why you get, if you have diabetes, depending on how far it's progressed, this is why you get sores and things that won't heal. You are literally rotting from the inside out while you're still alive. All right. That also we have heart disease, we have kidney and liver disease that is secondary to type 2 diabetes.
Yep.
Because of the degrading of those particular organs as well. So this is how bad it is. And all this is from a response of cortisol, which is a response from stressful situations, which is a response from your conscious value that you give to your experiences that you have in life. So first, diabetes is that. The response to that, okay, an effect of that, now you have to control your diet. So you understand that diet is not the culprit. It's not the initiator of it. Stress is the initiator of it. Just later, you have to control your diet. Now you cannot put any more sugar. Now you have to choose low glycemic foods and things like that in order to control your blood sugar. But now you also got to take insulin because your pancreas is tapped out.
Yeah.
It's tapped out. So anyway, I just wanted to give a good rundown there like that, and then and just see what we got from there.
Our phone. Oh, I'm sorry. Our phone lines is open if anyone wants to call 832-318-6966. This man just told us exactly what was going on. I gave the definition, and he took it a whole another step further.
Process. Yep.
Yeah.
He went through the whole process, visual.
And that's
and I visualized it. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. My brother wants you on the show. I'm just going to put that out there. We don't know how this man's how his schedule is. We know we're going to be here every Sunday. Will he be available to be here every Sunday? And
Pressure.
Will you, Diamond? I mean, my brother says you're the missing link, and that could be very well true. I mean, we can talk about it.
I got to talk that out too with my queen, because she don't get to talk. She don't get to have me during the week, and then I'm so busy on Saturdays and Sundays. Actually, Saturdays and Sundays are my busiest days. But
Mm-hmm.
so normally we kind of relax or whatever. But I'm cool. You know what? And at any time you guys can you reach out, I'm gonna be here. It doesn't matter.
I
It doesn't.
meant no disrespect. I
No.
meant no disrespect. No, my brother just the private chat. I'm sure you seen it. I meant no disrespect.
Now, I like to raise a question. Just
Go ahead.
it's a real simple one for
Go
our
ahead.
elder here. Chronic stress, acute stress.
Hmm.
Can we talk
Mm,
about the distinction as it relates to this response? Because I mean,
Absolutely.
we in life we do have to be challenged, right? So our environment does challenge us. I mean, we do grow through challenges, but can we just kind of make a, I guess, a modest, maybe even a quick highlight between chronic stress and acute stress as it relates to this?
mm,
Absolutely. So basically, everything I was just talking about, we're talking about the effects of chronic stress. Stress being
mm,
carried out over a long period of time. And this is why it's so important that everybody get your spirits in order so you can practice peace. So you can
Mm,
learn how to dispel stress when the threat is now gone, right? So that would be chronic. So acute stress is just if this is why ancestors also followed and looked at nature to teach them. Hold on, me speaking of nature, my dog is in here barking. Be quiet. um, so so what they noticed though is when on the Serengeti, when the antelope is actually fine as long as the lion is not hungry. Okay, he's okay. He can tiptoe around the lion. He could. The lion is not the threat. It's the hunger within the lion that's the threat. Because when the hunger takes hold of the lion, now of course that makes the relationship between the lion and the antelope a little different, right? So now the antelope knows this. So if the lion is coming towards him, he wants to run. As soon as he outruns the lion and the lion turns off, the antelope stops and start grazing grass again, like it never happened. You see, that's a form of acute stress. Now that the
mm.
threat is gone, he can relax and his blood levels return to normal that quick. You see,
Okay.
because they don't have they're not compelled to hold on to stress like we are. They're so by nature they're compelled to release it. They automatically react this way. But man, because we have a choice in our choices, we are freed by nature. So those type of laws and things like that, we end up violating them in so many ways, right? So like I said before, that's why I gave such a simple example. If somebody just says something you don't like, you acting like the antelope running from the lion. You see, you in full cortisol and adrenaline mode, and all those hormones are debilitating your organs. They're debilitating to your organs. They're bombarding them, impeding their function, and disrupting your process of homeostasis. It's causing a bunch of imbalances within the body. You see, so so it becomes your response. So acute and chronic stress, but there's also eustress and distress. Okay, so we have a north and south end of stress as well. All right, eustress being good stress. Exercise is good stress. Okay, exercise is good stress. Okay, but when you get to the point of worrying, now you're in distress. They have different effects on the body. All right, so the body needs stress, no doubt. The body actually needs stress, but the form of stress that it needs at the time that it needs is going to be what's detrimental to one's health. All right.
Mm.
So just
Okay.
making sure you do positive things, keep the body challenged. That's a form of stress, keeping it challenged because it needs to be challenged to continue to grow and evolve. Okay. But those things are healthy for the body. But it's when you get to a place of fear, worry, sadness, and things like that, that disease shows up. You see? So we have to look at all these different this multifaceted arena of our own consciousness and how we respond to the world around us. You can literally go through all of your life and never ever attract one disease. You can do that by the way you respond to life. All right.
Now, I also wanted, in lieu of that, also, I wanted to raise the question of, can we be stressed about a stimulus that is real or imagined? Also,
But the
Mm,
difference. The body doesn't know the difference whether you're imagining
it
something
doesn't.
or if it's
Yeah,
real.
it doesn't.
Again, that's look.
Mm,
This whole world is all mental. It's 100% mental. We've seen experiments where, I mean, like I say, look at quantum physics. In quantum mechanics, we found that just by conscious introduction of consciousness, particles react different. They collapse into a form according to the expectations of whatever the conscious observer is. And you take that away, then they're free form. They're free form again. You see, so this is the stuff they're not putting in the books. Okay, so but these are the things that we need to know about ourselves. You need to know how you operate within creation. Because if you don't understand that, you'll be causing all kind of problems for yourself. You
chaos.
see? So absolutely, John. Good question. Great question.
The reason why I raised that to the audience is, stress management is very key. There's a lot of literature out there that points to it, but he highlighted a key word that is very dear to me: homeostasis. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now
peace.
there's there's a lot of ways in which your homeostasis can be disrupted. In fact, exercise can disrupt your homeostasis, but what we're highlighting here is patterns, right? So how long is your homeostasis disrupted? If
Mm-hmm.
it's disrupted for just a moment, you should be returning back to that. So the question is, if you're disrupted from your homeostasis, you might be distracted from it. How long are you going to stay distracted? And what are the consequences if you remain distracted from homeostasis? Which, for those of you who don't know, it means balance. So we're
Yeah.
trying to remain in balance. We're trying to remain in harmony. The body must remain in harmony, right? Natural
Mm-hmm.
state. So we're constantly distracting from homeostasis, but we return back. So you figure out your own rhythm. So we're also indicating here that not only do you have to manage your internal environment, you have to manage your external environment, creating a hospitable place for your temple to reside, right? Is your home balanced? Is it peaceful? Is it
Right.
harmonious? And then
Mm-hmm.
what about beyond your home? What about when you go into your community? Are you
Mm-hmm.
stressed as soon as you walk outside the door? Are you stressed when you
Mm,
go to work? Are you stressed when you go to church? Are you stressed when you go to the club? Like, the environments that you place yourself, what
That's
is it?
right.
How is it influencing you? How is it impacting your peace? So I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to highlight that for you guys, just to give you something to consider as it relates to this.
Great points. Great points, beloved. Great
yes.
points.
I have anything to add.
Great points.
I'm learning now.
And
I just
everything that John just mentioned is a science within itself. We talk about environment, in your home environment. That's the science of feng shui, you know.
Mm.
So, I'm just saying, you know,
You keep saying these key words, and I'm just
Hey,
watching John's
hey,
response. He's over there
Man,
like,
I
oh
hey,
was
my God,
just talking to my queen about that, yo, because
hey.
she always she picks on me about it, like, you're so neat and organized. It's like, but if you could just understand, when you walk
why?
into a space, there is a flow of energy,
that's
right?
right.
Yes,
I mean, just
yes.
something as simple as, it's very simple. Let's say you just walk into my house and there's a chair right in front of the door. How does that
Mm-hmm.
chair make you feel when you walk into a door? Because your expectation is you're going to walk through a door and just navigate. But if
Hmm.
you are continuously walking into a space where there's a
Right.
blockage, the flow of energy, like you're met with resistance, that's going to impact your body. It might
That's
seem subtle, but if you do that chronically, habitually, the effect is going to compound. It's going to lead to something.
right. It
Feng
always
shui.
does. Yeah. Because no matter what, you're going to consciously be responding to it, no matter what. And it can set up a manifesting or block the manifestation in your life if you have things that are blocked off, you can literally choke up your ability to manifest abundance in your life. So you really can look at. I'm telling you, go and study feng shui and understand that science, and then try it, and then try it, and tell me if it works. Okay, tell me if it works. It's the absolute
Yeah,
truth.
Yes.
I just want to say something real quick. Hey,
Go
John, hey,
ahead.
you hit it on the head, bro. You hit it on the
Hmm.
head. And to further what he's saying, frequency, vibration, and energy, it always recognize blockage. It always
Hmm.
recognize blockage. So, John, when you stepped in, you already took over dominance of the room, of the area, of the space, of the energy. So the moment, even like you said, for example, if that chair is in the way, you automatically looking like, oh, this object shouldn't even be here. And everything about you is saying, this is obstruction. You see what I'm saying? So whatever your purpose might be, you thrown off already.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
I,
saying?
I have I have a question for Mr. Dion.
Yes.
I've been here with a friend, and I promise you, every time I walk in her door, I'm just at peace to the point where I want to fall asleep. I said it's heavy on the peace here.
Hmm.
Heavy, very peaceful, very quiet. There's nothing loud going on. And I swear I take naps when I'm here. Is is
Yeah.
is that what we're is that what we're talking about? This is the homeostasis. This is the flow.
Get him.
And I tell them all the time, I said, y'all are heavy on the peace here.
I
Sage
say.
burning if it was, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they don't even do that.
Hmm.
It's just it's
Well,
just
see, and
heavy
that's
on
like,
the
there's a
peace.
whole nother thing. We're talking about the ritual of sage burning and things like that. That's also that's an important part of it as well. But just what you're saying as far as I know in my place, um, each part has its own energy. It all depends on what my function is in that room. Never keep televisions
Mm.
and books and stuff like that in your bedroom. The bedroom is made for sex, meditation, and sleeping. And the most I've ever did in the bedroom was to I put up a surround system for playing music, and then a waterfall, to help me get into the transcendental state when I meditate or to sleep good. But but it was my living room that had the television, and it was my study that had my books. So I could not sleep even in room with the books that I study. It would mess up my sleep cycle. It literally can mess up your melatonin production, because you're consciously still responding to it, even though it's right there. You have to understand this is
Oh,
still all about a movement of energy. Okay. It's all about a movement of energy. And yes, that can add to your stress. I know a lot of people have asked me before, well, what if I just choose not to think about that? It's really you can't choose because the choice is a conscience. It's from the conscience mind, the top part of the mind. Remember, but it's the bottom
Cognitive.
part, the subconscious part of the mind that's 98 responsible for what you're experiencing in life. And those are things that take place below your level of awareness. Those are involuntary things. Those things are connected to what we call the life force. Okay, and the life force happens. It automatically takes place according to the programming that's there. So if you have certain conditions, let's say you've been conditioned in a certain way in childhood. If you were in a very violent home to where mom was screaming at dad or dad was screaming at mom, sisters and brothers fighting and blah blah blah, and you never dealt with that because that sets up a level of trauma. There's no peace. There's always this fight type of environment. You're gonna grow up with that and be that kind of person. There's a condition. You're not gonna be able to help it. So even when you come upon something like John mentioned, the chair blocking the doorway, if you come upon that, that's going to trigger the same fight scenes that you had in your house as a child. The same conditioning. It's going to attach to the same conditioning. Now you're going to get those same hormones. That's going to end up producing cortisol. That's going to end up increasing your waist size. That's going to end up spiking your blood sugar that's going to end up, well, you get the picture,
Right.
right?
Stress.
So this is what I mean is that this thing goes further. See, nobody can pinpoint what piece of food do you put in your mouth that ultimately causes you diabetes. Nobody
Yep.
can pinpoint it.
Nope.
Nobody can pinpoint it. Exactly. Yeah, and you can't say, well, then what is it that I need to stop eating that's going to reverse it? Nobody can pinpoint it. I guarantee you, in the treatment of any of this, it's not just about a cessation of certain dietary habits. It's
Mm.
included with exercise, meditation, and things. The very same stuff that gets rid of diabetes is the very same stuff that gets rid of cancer. Go look it up. It's the very same stuff. Because even when we talked about methylation, remember that leads to cancer as well. Okay? It's the very same thing. Because ultimately it is a disrupting in homeostatic processes within the body caused by conscious, well, put like this, the wrong conscious responses to stimuli in our environment.
Mm-hmm.
But the medical industry ain't gonna talk to you about this because this means that you got control over it and you don't need pharmaceuticals. So they're not gonna talk to you.
And that's just one approach to treating this, right? Because really what we're talking about is a holistic approach to treating
Yeah.
this. And holistic
Yeah.
is more about it's systems, it's multifaceted. So
Absolutely.
all right, so if we're saying, oh, you need to exercise now, okay, that's a
Yeah.
regulatory, that's a lifestyle, right? And we're talking about
Okay.
dietary, right? And then we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about stress management. So okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to meditate now. I'm going to go out into the nature, right? You're talking about regulating your conditions in which this dysfunction actually operates in and keeps it going. So we're talking about changing the conditions in which we operate. It's holistic. And
Mhm.
Western science traditionally is not holistic. We're kind of getting there. We're kind of getting there.
Mhm.
It's still coming along, but and they're trying, but Western medicine is starting to pick up. Like for example, we're just now in the 21st century studying meditation scientifically as in terms of like its effects, right?
Mhm.
But Eastern medicine,
They've been
they've
doing
known
it.
about this stuff, right?
They've
So
been doing it.
Thousands
we're
and
just
thousands of years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Been doing it.
it's been
Over
here.
here.
And so
Over
we're
here.
reaching out to the East and we're saying, oh, wait, so yoga could work for this and meditation. And then there's the different types of meditation. Because, you said getting into a transcendental state while you're meditating. I'm like, okay, there's transcendental meditation. But
Mhm.
I don't want to focus too much on the remedies per se. But when we're talking about this really just any disease, let's just say with any disease, the question is, what were the conditions that produced this disease, right? And
Mhm.
then if you're saying, all right, in order for me to heal, I have to get back into balance, I have to create those other conditions. And so again, it's multifaceted, it's multidisciplinary. So we're trying to regulate all these other aspects of our lives in order to achieve that homeostatic state.
That's correct.
You said
Mhm.
what are the conditions that created the stress? Ooh, not making enough money to take care of your family. Gas prices, shortage of food, the news. The conditions is when you walk outside the door.
Your
It's
relationship,
everything. Yeah, relationship is everything that's going on around you. Your
of
work.
course, we have a
Job.
relationship with everything, though. We have a
Right.
relationship with
Yeah, I
everything.
was about to say, is that the culprit? Because remember, we have to, and this is a very important lesson that I teach my students. There is no value in the situation itself. The situation itself is not stressful. Your response to the situation is what gives it value and gives it stress. Comes right back around to your conscious involvement.
I don't even. I'm done.
Comes right back around to that.
I'm
I
done.
mean, do you
Thank
see
you.
that? I mean, am I just
Yeah. No.
Responsibility,
I
your
am not above
responsibility.
being corrected. and shown the proper way, your response to okay, oh, okay,
Your
gas price $7.
responsibility, your
Right.
ability to
Okay.
respond to a stimulus. We're
That's right.
always
Okay.
being, for the most part,
Yeah.
when we're in our active environment, we're responding to our environment. It doesn't matter if it's a person, a pillow, a light, an event. We have a relationship with our reality. So how are you responding to your reality is going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So different people respond to different people will respond differently to the same stimulus. So it doesn't matter if it was I don't know, somebody yelling, somebody walking, uh it could be somebody that's got on a hoodie, different perception of the same stimulus. One person is overreactive, the other person is just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If this person has a different neurochemical response or hormonal response, their environment internally is changing. While
Mm-hmm.
yours is just, you're just like, okay. And you see them expressing that.
Uh-huh.
They're expressing that they're overreacting. And so now you're a part of their environment, right? And they're a part of your environment. You're operating in the same environment. So what happens if you're in a relationship with a person, close contact, and they're constantly stressing you out, distressing you out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Children can be, they can be a good stressor, they can be a right? You're constantly in this environment with them, and so it's going back and forth. This energy, ah, 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 all this dysfunction. Are we going to expect healthy adults out of all this?
Good question.
I'm
Excellent.
listening.
Excellent. Excellent viewpoint. And I think ultimately one thing that we have to understand, the reason why I brought up that point too is because it's important that we stay empowered when it comes to how our reality unfolds, and to stay in a position of power to determine how it unfolds. Now, there are situations we don't have a control over the situations. Okay, we only have control over how we respond to them. So if the situations dictated our well-being, we will be in a world of trouble. We'd be in a world of trouble, and we know like two people don't respond to the same thing the same way, right? For instance, when I was in college, I had this girlfriend that I loved. I liked her a lot, right? She liked she liked Six Flags. She liked going to the roller coasters and all that kind of stuff, right? I had a bad experience as a child at Six Flags because I got on the wrong ride and I was too young. Got on the wrong ride. It traumatized me. I didn't never wanted to go back to Six Flags.
Mm.
But one day she came home and she said she bought us season passes. We wasn't just going one time. It was going to be several times that we was about to go.
Repeated exposure. Repeated exposure.
Now we got a couple of things that are at work here. My ego as her boyfriend, I'm not gonna punk out. If my girl wants to go to Six Flags, right? I'll go. No matter how I'm feeling inside. The cortisol is already produced. So I'm already stressed. So we get to Six Flags. She goes to the biggest roller coaster they got. And I'm looking at this thing like, I'm afraid of heights and everything. And so we're standing in line. I'm glad that it's 45 minutes. It's a 45-minute wait. So we're standing in line and I'm waiting to get up there. As we're waiting to get up there, she's checking on me. You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I can't wait to do this. No, I don't mean that. I'm scared. I'm as scared as I would be if I was going into surgery and knowing I wasn't going to get any anesthesia, right? I know I would be afraid. That's how scared I was. Shaking on the inside, but I couldn't punk out because I'm with my girl. So we get on this ride. I'm terrified. And I was just glad when we finally left Six Flags that day. But I knew she was going to want to come back either the following month or within the next couple of weeks. So since I was in college, I only worked on the weekends. She was at work during the week. I went to Six Flags to practice. Okay, I went to Six Flags. I got on every roller coaster. When you go in during the week, there's nobody there, so you can get on the rides and go over and over. I put myself through this torment somehow knowing that I would finally get used to it and change my perception of roller coasters. So I practiced on every roller coaster. So by the time she was ready to come back, I could enjoy that experience with her. Because if before I was not enjoying that experience, it was causing me a great deal of stress. But now I've learned to calm myself in the midst of that particular event.
Mm.
I found peace on the roller coaster. Okay, found peace there. So now I can enjoy it. It took it from a fearful experience to one that I enjoy. So then now my body's responding differently. The hormones that used to be produced are not being produced anymore. Now I got dopamine producing instead of cortisol. You see? So yeah. So what I'm saying, same experience, different conscious involvement. Okay, does that make sense?
Can you explain to the people what dopamine is?
Dopamine is that feel good chemical. It's that chemical that anytime you are in the midst of eating, even if it's your favorite dessert, if you're having sex, anything that you feel that really, really brings a large amount of pleasure, dopamine is actually produced.
Mm.
Big old bright spots in your brain light up, and you just feel this elatedness because you're in this moment of high pleasure. All right. So that's the opposite of being stressed. Okay. It's the opposite
There
of
it
being
is.
stressed. Yeah. So that's what it is.
Kicking the
Wow. Real quick,
science.
real quick, real quick. Yeah, he is. He's dropping a lot of jewels, gems, and kicking some doors open. And I'm glad we're using the word treatment. I'm glad we're using
Mm.
the word
Yes,
treatment.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Treatment.
Treat it.
important. Yeah, that's important. Carlos Brown say, I have learned to calm my inner voice, but it's a process and continued practice.
That's
Miss
right.
J Love said, knowledge is beautiful. Miss Melissa Joe said, it will keep nagging you until you change it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Miss J Love came back and said, please speak on meditation. She also said stimulating triggers. She also said self control and discipline. Mr. Barry Brand Jr., my situations aren't emotional and they don't care how I feel about them. He also said, I
Mm.
got to go back and catch up with this replay. J Love said to practice.
Rewind.
J Love said to practice. She also said
Yes.
overcoming fears. Yeah, so that's about it. We caught up on those.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I would, if you don't mind, Mr. Diamond, can you please touch in on meditation
Mm-hmm.
and certain stimulating triggers?
Mm.
Um, meditation. It's purpose. It has different purposes. Most people use it as a coping tool, as a method for coping with certain emotional situations. And but there's some of us that uses it as a transformational tool. All right. So there's a difference between coping with something and then transcending that situation.
Mhm.
Coping is allowing to stick around. All right. And you want to get comfortable with it. That's all coping is. But to transcend it is to get rid of its effects altogether. All right. So meditation is a way of doing both. It all depends on how deep you want to take your meditation. Anytime I teach meditation, I teach it to the point to where we are transcending situations. And so there are four major states that your brain go through. All right. So first, even right now, it's really five, but we'll talk about four. But right now we're in a beta state, beta brainwave state. As we're talking and conversing and interacting, it's a beta brainwave state. When we begin to relax, it goes into the alpha state. All right. So that's when we first sit down, we stop all activity, outer activity, and we begin just to relax. It sends us to that alpha state. Then we go into, and so in the alpha state, what you have is the conscious mind now beginning to be subdued. Okay. And whereas it's fully active in a beta state, conscious mind is fully active in the beta state. Okay, so now the conscious mind is becoming to calm down in an alpha state, but then in the theta state, because at the same time that the conscious mind is coming down, the subconscious activity of the spirit is coming up. So they're inversely proportionate, right? So what's happening is you're here in the alpha state, and then the next state is going to be the theta state. They're here, face to face. It's literally the state that's between sleep and wake. Okay, so now at this point, the conscious mind can now talk directly to the subconscious mind. It can have a direct effect on the subconscious mind, right? So the theta state is what we call the trance state. It's the trance state. It's when you're not asleep nor are you awake. All right. Now, sleeping state is going to be the next state, which is the delta state. All right. The delta state is the sleeping state. And in the sleeping state, your conscious mind is fully subdued, so fully inactive, and the subconscious is fully active at that point. Only the life sustaining activities are going on inside. So that's why we call it the life force. Only that part is actually active at that time. So the automated nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, well, really the parasympathetic nervous system is what's active at that time, right? So because you still got digestion, you still got things like that that are happening that is out of your control, right?
Yeah.
So so where we want to be in meditation is get to that theta state, into the state of trance, so that now here's the work that needs to be done. Before you even get into meditation, think about what it is. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. What is it that you need to change in order to truly realize your true divine potential? And I can tell you that should be everybody's goal, because we're talking about the absolute purest part of you as your divine self. What is prohibiting you from expressing that through your thoughts, feelings, and actions? What is it that's keeping you from expressing that? So if you have a tendency to get anger or get triggered, angrily, or sadness, or begin to worry and go into these negative emotions, they're all blocking you from expressing that true divine self, right? The truest and purest part of yourself. So then, and this could be a conversation just about you, so you need to be as honest as possible with yourself. Then you write those things down. Then you write down as opposite, to declare freedom from those things. Those become your affirmations. All right? And infuse it with emotion, which means when you recite those affirmations, assign an emotion of joy and relief to them. All right? Now I'm telling you why that's important. Because when you finally get down into that theta state, to where the conscious mind and the subconscious mind can now talk to each other, that is a direct impression of reprogramming onto the subconscious mind, which is 98% responsible for what goes on in your life, right? So then when you get down there, now you can say these affirmations to your subconscious self directly and have more of a direct effect at that time. Okay, more of a direct effect. And so now this is the transcendental process. Now you do this enough, before you know it, you won't have those issues you had before. You will see that you will become a more calmer person in those same situations that got you riled up before. You will see that you are going to have a less tendency to worry or to become sad or anything like that. So in other words, you keep all your IQ points, because each one of those they drop your IQ points significantly. Okay, so when we talk about meditation, and we talk about going beyond relaxation, but into a transformation. All right, there is a spiritual transformation or transmutation, which is still alchemy. All right, it's an alchemical process. Oh, this one I say y'all done took the red pill now, because we got to get into the chakras. I'm gonna stop there, but I'm just saying we got to get into how the effect it has on the other realms. You know, so and this all just comes from you knowing who you are, knowing the masters that you are, knowing the gods and goddesses that you truly are. Because disease has no place in your being. Disease is just a misunderstanding of who you are. It's just a misunderstanding of who you are. Meditation reconnects us back to who we are with the proper methodology.
Dang.
All right. So what was the other question? You said meditation and what else? Stimulus.
Stimulus triggers. I would like to add to that. How does fear play a direct effect in diabetes?
Well,
but go ahead with stimulus.
So it's everything that I just talked about. Fear is the ultimate. Remember, but fear is a broad term, and anger, worry, sadness, all that stuff is fear-based. All of that stuff, those are components or agents of fear. All of it is. When we feel disrespected, that's an agent of fear. So all of those are in the realm of fear. Fear can be like this bowl, but you got inside that bowl, you got anger, sadness, worry, and manipulation, and disassociation, loneliness, all this other kind of stuff that's in that bowl of fear. So when we get down to fear, literally when we're acting out of fear, that's when that fight or flight mechanism turns on. And it automatically informs your body to produce that cortisol. I'm telling you, if we can start a market, put that on the stock market, it'll be a safe bet. Okay, if we can put cortisol on the stock market, because there's plenty of it around here. There's plenty of it. You know, it's just in some way or another we're always there, and that is and it's evident because of how disease is so rampant, how it's running so rampant. We got 5 million people a year that are dealing with type 2 diabetes. 5 million. All right. And that's a lot.
It is. It is. The money is not in the cure, it's in the treatment.
Yep.
Of course.
They would
We haven't even talked about dialysis yet. We haven't even talked about dialysis.
They would rather prescribe you a pill to take maybe once or twice a day. They will prescribe you insulin to give yourself several times a day. You have to literally prick your finger several times a day. And every time I go to prick their finger, I just be like, wow.
Right.
This man, just to get a little drop of blood to find out what their levels are. Now I've seen people who are wearing these, I can't think of, I should have did a little bit of research on them, but there's a little device that they have on their arm to regulate their blood sugar throughout the day. And you have to wear this around. Some is connected to a machine that tells them what their blood sugar is throughout the day to prevent them from having the finger sticks. I've seen those, but it does not prevent them from getting the insulin, getting a shot 3 and 4 times a day of insulin, short term, long term. Short term to bring your insulin numbers down right then and there. Long term insulin, long acting insulin is over a period of 12 hours. And that's what they're going through every day.
Now, is that in place of dietary restrictions, or is that in conjunction with?
I hate to say this, but nursing home food is the same wherever you go. There is no dietary restrictions. Sorry.
Tread softly, please.
Yeah. It's, you would think, okay, why are you giving him chocolate pudding? Okay.
What
I'm
is
gonna
the
leave it
trick?
right there. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Well, I
You
love what
know.
that just shows that we have to take control of that. We have to be proactive because if we don't do it, ain't nobody gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And family needs to be helpful in that area too as
Mhm.
well. Because they like to bring in those
Woo!
snacks and sodas and chips and just give her what she wants. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, 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 I'm gonna stop. But this is the reason why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I wanted to talk about it. I mean, your grandmother is type 2 diabetes. Why are you bringing her a special St. Paul? I'm just,
All
I,
right. Now,
I'll leave it there
Okay,
because Jay has a question. Jay has a
real
question.
quick, Diami. We have. Can you treat your diabetes on your own with a healthy diet? And she also say fasting. I really enjoy fasting with my mother.
so, a couple of things. Uh, Fasting for some diabetics would not be an ideal situation, but I would say timely eating rather than just not fasting. Okay, because the blood sugar can drop real fast,
Fast.
and that itself puts you in another mental state.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with many
Hypo,
people. Yeah, that were
hypoglycemia.
hypoglycemic.
It's called a
You know,
diabetic coma.
well, and that's when hyperglycemia, when you're, it's different. It's different numbers.
Hyper is up.
Hyper
Hypo
is up.
is up.
Mhm.
Hypo is low. Now,
Right.
when you're hypo, that's your blood sugar is low. You're sweating, clammy skin. You're disoriented.
Very
You're
much
very
so.
weak, fatigue. You hard to arouse, and we have a shot that we have to give you to bring your blood sugar up, or
Hmm.
some type of
Glucose. You just straight
glucose
glucose.
Mhm.
in the mouth
Uh
to
huh.
bring your numbers up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen as low as 44, and I will look at the person. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Your blood sugar says you're 44."
Love
Okay,
Shot said, I can say that my doctor has told me if I lose weight and change my eating habits, that I can come off my meds for my diabetes. And I also lost 24 pounds, but he still needs me to lose more weight.
Well, and I would say it depends too, because remember we're talking about the visceral fat right around the midsection. Uh, that could be the reason why he would need you to lose more. Because when we talk about losing weight, we're really talking about losing body fat. We get down to it. If we really, because we talking about you can lose weight by
Muscle.
losing muscle. So ultimately we have to literally break this down. This is one problem with the system overall. They don't consider body composition. This
Mm.
is why they still go by body mass index and so
Yep.
forth. We don't talk about body composition. What is your weight composed of? Your weight is composed of water weight, non-fat mass, and also fat mass.
And
Those are
skeletal.
the compositions that make up your weight. So, but now we have, when we're talking about visceral fat, that actually needs to be decreased in order for you to have an improved A1C number, which is your average glucose number. And remember, and that's the measurement of how many sugar molecules are attached to hemoglobin, which is the protein that carry the oxygen carrying protein in the blood. So that's going to be measured by that as well. Now, if they find a whole bunch of sugar molecules attached to a fasting blood, then they know that that your A1C is going to be high. And if it's over a certain amount, you're going to be in pre-diabetic, and if it goes up too much more than that, you're going to be a full-blown diabetic. They give you a lot of warning before then. So yes, by diet and exercise, dieting Get to know what low glycemic foods are. Okay, get to know what low glycemic foods are. All right, you can pull a list of them off the internet. Understanding carbohydrates.
Mm.
Carbohydrates are not, everybody want to lump these
Yep.
into one word, but they're not just one word. All
Mhm.
right. So we have monosaccharides, disaccharides, and we have polysaccharides. All right. So all that is just telling you the carbon bonds,
Mhm.
which is going to also tell you how much each one of those are going to spike the blood sugar. So, and those falls in a line also with starches, complex carbs, and simple carbs. You know, so simple carbs, of course, one big carbon bond that's going to explode all at once in your system and spike your blood sugar. Complex carbohydrates, which is going to be foods that has more fiber in them, and these have chains of smaller carbon bonds that's going to be released, time released, and just causing a little bit of sugar in the blood for energy. Because if we had no sugar at all, we wouldn't be able to move. All
Mhm.
right, so we need that
Energy
sugar,
production.
energy production, and our true energy is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's the true energy. So that's the end result of taking glucose, getting it inside the cell, and the cell uses it and manufactures that within the mitochondria to produce through the Krebs cycle the ATP molecule, which we then use for energy. All right. So once we understand that, then we learn how to control that a little bit more. But too much of that makes your cells resistant to insulin, which means it's not going to be taking in sugar, and the sugar's in the wrong place,
Mhm.
causing diabetes. Now you got too many molecules sticking to the hemoglobin. It's going to increase your A1C. I mean, you can see it's always a chain reaction. It ain't just one thing happening. You see, it
True.
ain't just one thing. So
True.
this is why I always tell people: make sure if you got that issue, just like you go to a doctor to get it diagnosed, go to a nutritionist to get it under control.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's important.
mm.
That's it. Don't just stop at the doctor.
Woo.
The doctor only have 8 hours of nutrition within their
Mm.
10 years of schooling. They're not the
Yes.
ones that's qualified to tell you what
They're
to eat.
not specialists. They're not specialists.
And they're
Yep.
going to give you a prescription for a pill.
That's right. Because well, that's yeah. Okay. I
Yeah,
already knew
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I think I never give it out.
I already knew that was coming.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. This is why I wanted to talk about it. Barry says his A1C is borderline. How do I get it and keep it down? How do yeah.
Exercise. Start exercising. Take processed foods out your diet.
Mhm.
Control your diet with whole natural foods, fruits and vegetables, and lean meats if you're a meat eater. All right, and also start to meditate. Take time out to relax, reduce stress. You have to add that component in there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
When we were in school, I'm I'm keep it light. They told us that walking 30 minutes a day continuous helps your pancreas produce enough insulin to take care of the blood sugar to take care of the glucose that's in your bloodstream.
Hmm.
And I was like, are they giving this information out to people when they come to the office that exercise and lessening the stress?
Hmm. I hear a lot of doctors do say that. They don't give a lot of I hear a lot of doctors say that. The thing about it though, remember, you still got this mindset to overcome. That's
Mm,
always the problem. Even if doctors gave you the full regimen and send you on your way, you know you'll be back because you won't be able to implement it
Mm.
because of the mindset.
where did my brother go?
I don't know where he.
He'll be back.
So
Mhm.
Um,
yeah, yeah. To
J
that point,
Love.
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. J Love said, "Is a vegan lifestyle more promising for people with diabetes?"
No,
Mm,
no. That's not more. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but no, it's not
Bring
more
back.
There you go.
So we were just answering a question, King. J Love said, "Is the vegan lifestyle more promising for people with diabetes?" And my answer is no.
Mm, okay.
It's not. It's not more promising. In fact, people think that a vegan lifestyle is healthier, but it's not. It's an imbalanced diet.
You still gotta get your micronutrients, and you gotta start supplementing to some extent.
Well, if you have to supplement your diet is off.
Hmm.
Because
Mm,
supplement is just what it says. It supplements what you cannot get from your diet. On vegan diets, you have to supplement. And tell you what you have to supplement. One vital nutrient called B12, without which you wouldn't be able to sustain life. B12 only comes from animal sources. And I'm not saying you have to eat meat, but you have to, at minimum, be vegetarian, not vegan.
woo, like that. Barry said, very much a meat eater. Prayer and meditation is a daily reintroducing exercise to my life. My diet has never been bad. Maybe I'm eating foods I thought were good, but not right.
That could be the case.
Barry,
That
if you
could
want
be.
to call in, please do 832-318 6966. We would love to hear from you. Anyone that want to call in, we would love to hear from all of you all.
That's it.
Ooh. Oh my God. This has
That's
been
it.
good. Thank you so much, Leon.
Just
I really
real
appreciate
quick.
it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was just finna say that. Yeah, we really do appreciate having Dami on the podcast. Like this is
Yes.
Appreciate it. I really do.
real God
Thorough.
level conversations that need to be had type stuff. Like
Yes.
for real, for real. First
Thank
and
you so
Mhm.
much.
foremost, I want to say thank you to Master John Skywalker because it's
Yes.
because of this man we have this opportunity with Yami, and that is beautiful. I also want to say, you don't have an elder slash life coach. Hey, take time
Mhm.
out to try one or the other, if not both,
Yeah.
because sometimes experience trumps information. Um,
Mm.
That's right.
just food for thought.
Hey.
Food for thought.
Woo.
Food for thought.
Can I write that down?
Please.
Experience
Wisdom.
Trump
Look,
information.
wisdom.
Let me
Wisdom.
write that down.
You said a word.
Poetry,
You said
man.
a word.
Poet.
Yeah.
Yes.
But jumping back real quick to that comment that you made, God level, about the 30 minutes. Yeah, there
Yes.
is a general recommendation out there. Um,
Hmm.
30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Um,
Continuous.
that's yeah, but it's like that's like bare minimum. That's like maintenance.
Hmm.
But you have a serious condition here.
Right.
You're gonna do like you could probably start off that way because
Hmm.
you got to get acclimated, right?
Right.
So you want to ease into it, but
Yes.
after some time you want to intensify, and then also endurance. So
Yeah.
ideally you might want to go an hour if you got it. I mean, this is you investing in yourself, so we're talking about time here. It's going to require time. You have 24 hours, right? So you got to break that down. How much time am I going to invest in reconditioning myself or deconditioning myself, right?
Hmm.
So if you're doing 30 minutes and then you're eating these foods, are you really making a dramatic impact on your condition? Are you really restoring yourself to that homeostasis? Like, John, I walk 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. It's like,
I'm
oh, okay. I mean, you're doing
I heard
something.
what I heard what my brother said, and I know I need to be careful. And I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to leave it alone. The treatment, the is not in. It's the money is in the treatment, not in the cure. The
Hmm.
bare minimum.
Lead,
That's what they're giving you. Uh,
And like the Amin was saying, like, all right, they're gonna give you these instructions.
mhm.
Hey, do this, eat this,
Yeah.
go on your way. All right, yeah. And so it's like you left out with this paper, but you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
There's
Plan.
no plan. There's no structure. You just got a list. It's like you got a grocery list, but you don't know where you're gonna get it from and what it looks like. It's not tangible to you yet. It's still just an idea. So how are you going to manifest that? It's got to be
Mhm.
systematic. It's got to be routine, habitual, pattern. It was a pattern that got you there. Change your pattern. There was a specific rhythm that got you there. Change the rhythm.
Mhm. Mhm. So you really need an accountability, somebody to hold you accountable. You
Yeah.
know, help you create a plan, hold you accountable to that plan. This is why these professionals exist, you know, and utilize them. I still think that personal trainers and nutritionists and life coaches are way underutilized in the Black community. Underutilized. And everybody always talking about, oh, what they cost, they expensive. Well, I'm just saying, who out there buying Yeezys? You see what I'm saying?
Mm, mm,
Who's out there buying these Jordans and
mm,
everything? Really? You know how
mm,
many sessions that'll get
mm,
you?
mm, mm.
Woo!
Ooh.
So I'm just saying, I know we got to get rid of that. We have a $2.8 trillion spending habit in the Black community. All right, so let's not fool ourselves talking about we ain't got the money. You
Mm.
just, you're not spending it properly. Your value system is skewed.
And
Yeah.
health is not an expense, people. Health is
And,
not an
and
expense.
stop
It's an
treating it like it's an
investment.
option. Stop treating it
Yeah,
like
it's
it's an option.
right.
It's not an
It's an
option.
investment.
Hmm.
You got to invest in your health. That's why
Hmm.
they say health is wealth. Wealth is not okay. Expense. It's invest time, invest resources. If if you're gonna put money into, again, when you're looking at your food budget, that's an investment because it's a recurring thing. It's not just an expense. It's how you select. If you're intentional with your food selection, you're recognizing that I am consciously selecting these foods and I'm developing a relationship with these foods because they're giving me something. There's something to be returned here. You're not just buying this food just because for buying sake, like it's doing something for you. So
Hmm.
you have this bad condition. If you want to get rid of it, you gotta invest in your health. You don't just, well, John, ain't nobody got money like that. Okay, what do you have? Like, work with what you got. It's just making smarter choices, conscious choices. Your unconscious self got you to this condition. So you just gonna let that prosper and just complain about this being what it is?
Right.
Yeah.
I say.
Okay.
God level, you had something to say?
Yeah. I don't know if I should say it though. It may take the conversation in a whole other direction. I'm gonna say it anyway. Have y'all been hearing about the fires at these food plants?
Oh, yeah, I've heard about them.
Like 16 of them
Hmm.
Mm.
inside of 30 to 60 days. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, if you have the ability to grow some fruits and vegetables yourself, I would do so.
I say.
You wait a minute. You see how my brother be? Yeah. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it. That's it. That's it. We're an hour and 23 minutes in. Tonight has been very, 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 very informative. I've learned a lot from Diamond. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. I know next week we're doing hypertension.
Yeah.
We taking reserved seats.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
We're just gonna put it in the air. Anybody
Yeah,
want to reserve a
we're
seat
doing
now?
we're doing
Anybody want to reserve
hypertension
a seat?
um next week. Um And that was nice that you put it out there. The cortisol, the stress, the elevated cortisol in the body, internal, external. Because when I was researching the diabetes, they didn't have a cause. All they would say is genetics, family history, but they really couldn't pinpoint where it's coming from. So yes, when the body is in dis-ease, it's going to cause diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, meditation is something you can do. Eating right. Would you suggest staying away from a lot of meat?
No, I wouldn't suggest that.
Hmm.
Now that'd be a different thing when we start talking about hypertension, but
Mm.
because it all depends.
Okay.
Um, but I would say because meat actually, because it doesn't add to the sugar content of the blood or anything, it's actually
Hmm.
good. So lean meats are very, very good for to add into a diabetic diet. Along with low glycemic fruits and vegetables, and
Okay.
but for a balanced meal, and of course, but too much meat or too much protein consumption that ends up
Hmm.
being a problem.
Okay.
So
All
remember,
right.
the body doesn't see protein. You might eat meat, but the body
Hmm.
sees amino acids.
Yeah, breaking it down.
It
Yes, sir.
breaks down into that's the way the body utilizes it in amino acids. Every process in the body uses amino acids. Okay, every
Mm.
process. Your hormones, your antibodies in your immune system, structural repair,
Skin.
skin, all that uses amino acids. So the body doesn't like to use amino acids for energy. So
Yes.
this is why you have to have some sort of carbohydrate or fat, because the body will go to carbohydrates first for fuel and then to
Yes, sir.
fat if it doesn't have enough carbohydrates. But you
Yep.
never want to be without those two to where the body's dipping into the amino acid stores for energy. That's you're in a bad position at that point. Um, that'll quickly clog your kidneys up and everything.
Mm.
So yeah. Um, what did
Go ahead.
Barry say? I'm go ahead.
Yeah, Barry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barry. It's a few of them up here. I'm gonna read them real fast.
All right.
Skywalker. Barry said, "Health is a responsibility." J Love says, "Take your health back by force." J Love also says, "I love to eat food that my body can benefit from. I even research whatever I'm eating." J Love also says, "Grow your own food." J Love says, "Nah, but for real, Renee." She means God level. J Love, God level. You know.
Mhm.
J Love also says low sodium for hypertension. Barry says genetics is real, but habits passed down through family probably has just as much influence as DNA.
It actually does, because that's something else.
Yeah. That's
When,
it.
when we found out that it wasn't diabetes is not a genetic disposition, but it's rather a traditional disposition. It is family tradition, that actually plays more into the role of diabetes. So like my grandmama had it, her grandmama had it, and blah blah blah. Where it's because y'all all are doing the same thing. That's
Mm.
and you're responding to the same stimuli the same way. It's all kind of things. So again, that's what ends up being is habits rather than genetics. You know, even though we get our conditions from the woman when she passes down her mitochondrial DNA,
Woo.
uh, whatever it is that she's dealing with, then the children has that's what sets up the factors for the children if the children are going to experience something as well. So we have to make sure that our women are also. So stop stressing the women out,
Mm.
guys. Stop stressing the women out. Yes.
So it is the woman's emotional well-being is very important when carrying child.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to find Aaron. Aaron presented me with some information. I'm gonna wait backstage for this one. I'm not gonna put this one out there. I'm gonna
Cool.
wait
So
backstage
let's
for this.
look at this point. Um, I want to say this first and foremost. we do need to protect our women a lot more because they are keepers of the home front. Not just the home front, four corners of the wall, but the home front, which the womb we come from, is very, 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 very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely true, correct.
And
You
the
know,
women, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
you're okay, beloved.
And the women need to allow for that to happen.
Okay, excellent.
They
And
really do.
I was going to say that when you talk about we need to protect our women, I was I know there was a narrative going around about how black women are the most unprotected women and blah blah blah. Black men don't protect their women. I always saw it as a false narrative, one that we made up because it's not true. I would never let a black woman, and I don't know of any men that would let. And then what are we talking about protecting from? But I then I looked at it this way. We're not in this way. We're not protecting them because we're not protecting ourselves. We're not making sure that we are right because we are the one bringing the problems to our black women. So we're not protecting them because we're not looking to exemplify the best version of ourselves. That's why we're not protecting them. So if we want to talk about it, then we got to talk about it. So if you want to talk about protecting black women, then grow up.
Go,
Yes,
yes.
I think he said, "Know thyself."
Yes, he did.
absolutely.
Yes, he
Absolutely.
did. Oh my. I don't have nothing else more to add to anything. This whole live has been a whole mouthful, and I've learned a lot. Again, we are doing hypertension next week.
Okay, I will be here next week for hypertension.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this was really good. We should do a show on meditation.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
And
we
that,
should. We brought it up.
I have an annual meditation workshop that I do. That'll be that's right at the end of when my course ends.
Mhm.
Then the next session would be a meditation workshop where it's about a 3-hour workshop that we go into it. And it's online, it's on Zoom, and we start out with sing a sound bath and things like that. And it's nice and very informative. So I think even around that time, it'll be a good time to get people's mind ready for it.
Yeah, we're just
And tonight's keynote speaker is
Diamond. Diamond. Tonight's keynote, Diamond, our special guest, Diamond.
man.
He is originally from Fort Worth, Texas, up in Long Beach right now. Please check out his website, Soul Vision Healing. This man wears several different hats. He's a personal trainer, um, spiritual advisor, life coach. He is studying ancient African spiritual science. We need to get into that too as well.
Ooh.
That'd be right up King's alley. I know King. That'd be right up King's alley.
King Eyes got it. Look at them. They just gleaming over there. They
Man, just what? When you're hungry for it, it's just like what? 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 Oh,
Man, look here.
you finna put your whole foot in it.
Yeah,
Mr.
hey, listen,
Mr.
certain systems, you have to really, really tread softly, man, because
I understand.
releasing certain information, the mind might not be prepared for. You can actually destroy a person rather than build them up. Like, I'm so serious.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
We only go through deal with the fundamentals. The higher information, I have higher master classes for that.
Mm.
Okay.
Invitation only.
Invitation.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did in
Absolutely.
Egypt. It was, yeah,
Initiates.
you initiates, you was invited, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was it. We had the, you know, it's a lot about our history that our people don't know about, and just had a small amount of that been taught in schools, I think that we would be on a different path right now if we
Mhm.
learn more about who we were, you know.
Backstage.
Yes. Backstage. All right. Or does anybody have anything? Are we going to close out, or does anyone have anything else to add to tonight's show?
Peace.
John, is Barry one of
Yeah.
your people? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is that's not his first time chiming in, is it?
No.
No, he chimed in once before.
Yeah, he
It was
did.
a good while.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to
Yeah.
personally thank you, Barry, for chiming in. Thank you, J Love, for chiming in.
Yeah.
Mother, always is a pleasure to see you when you chime in.
Oh,
Miss
absolutely.
Melissa, Stephanie, who else? Los.
Carlos,
Yeah, Los was in the building. Cortez,
Jalen.
thank you.
Yeah, he said he loved the backgrounds. We seen it. I think
Yeah,
Diamond was
yeah,
was
yeah,
was
yeah,
deep
yeah.
in it when he made that comment, and I was just like, whoa. Um, should I say oh no, you don't have to. He said it's been a while, no problem. Met the Skywalker at Starbucks in Kuwait.
Yep.
Really? You okay, that's what's
You
up.
remember I call her Puff, but you remember wait, did Tasha come on? No, Tasha didn't come on. Oh my god, Ivy. I met Ivy over there. There's a whole crew. There's a whole crew I met over there.
Okay, hold on. All right. Walk right into it. Go right ahead. Say this is
So
this
I
is
said uh-oh. So I said you're homophobic, but you're showing these niggas your anus? That's kind of heinous, like thinking thought clouds of weed smoke. You choke when I think out loud. Yeah, thank you. I'm particulate minus the P. That sounds much better than you reading out loud, getting gassed up, being belligerent, too concerned with being lit than literate. The online trash talk, take it to the streets, just litter it. Cause I figure it's like Peter Dinklage taking a dump. Come on, that's little shit. Treating the gossip like it's gospel, knows so deep in their business, even your snot knows you're not about change. How you a real man with fake outrage? You cosplay as a king, but act like a rook. You need to do less scrolling and open a book. Hypocrite, getting pissed over things you can't control, got the smallest opinion like it's the biggest dick. You gotta wonder why none of these women feeling it. My bad. They feel it more than a little bit. See, your fake outrage is like a dildo. Yeah, they fuck with it hard, still isn't real though. To improve your likeness, you post for likes. Big dick energy, right? Venereal type. Entitled to an opinion, even if it ain't true. See, we don't compare because my stuff is the truth. And you spitting out facts on opinions you agree with. Like a seamstress with the flu, you seem sick in the head. Forget about these parodies these copycats are parroting. Let's talk therapy. Act like a fool, specialize in the drama with a misguided obsession over commas and numbers. Yo, read between the lines. See a lot of the ones that make you take pause. They say, man, who you think you are? I'm a nobody with a great body that rocks the party that rocks your body. Yeah, I'm built like Samson without the dreadlocks. Love my freedom so much I even dread locks. Modesty in my hyperbole. Speak life into your soul with such certainty. A motivational speaker, not a teacher, but I represent a lifetime of teachable moments, unspeakable motives like head nods to my brothers in the streets, an agreeable motion to let them know I see you and respect you, even if I never met you. Bruh, I hope you're a better father than your father was. So much tough love, You're afraid to soften up. If black masculinity is under attack, I pray that yours is more intact than a diplomat. Dealing with toxicity from your kids' moms, constantly claiming everything is your fault, bro. It's okay to be weak sometimes. Just remember that your children evolve when you're involved. See, you don't always get the credit you deserve. I pray you're being great, getting better, and unlearn that negative self-talk. I pray you get your turn. I pray you get your time and you realize money ain't all that we provide. We're providers. It's more than meals and paid bills. We provide life skills, opportunities to grow, discipline, self-sufficiency. We provide the first model of dignity. Don't let them tell that lie. The measure of a man is not by a dollar sign. I hope that you believe in yourself. I hope the king you see in me is what you see in yourself. Blessed.
Oh, wow. Bless me.
Oh my God. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for jumping in on tonight's live. We discussed diabetes. It'll be uploaded on Spreaker and Apple Podcasts once this has been shut down. Thank you to all who comment, to our special guest, Mr. Diamond, who will be back next week as we speak on hypertension. With that being said, I love you all, and we will see you all back here next week. Salute.
Peace, peace, peace.